is what is the worst thing about society to you?
I thought about that one was tricky because I think there's a lot of bad things. I don't like to focus on the bad things, but I have been noticing this one specifically a lot. I think it is the core problem, and it's greed. And I don't think every society is like that,
Right.
but I think most of Western society is thrives on this money and greed. And over time, a long time, they've built it into people that you got to get that money and fuck everybody else, get more for me. And that's a problem because
Yeah.
now you've got people. How many billionaires are there on the planet? I don't know. But if they all got together, they probably wouldn't even need half of their money to
Right.
really help solve a lot of the issues, just core issues, whether it's like clean water sources, food, vitamins for people. There's people on all over the planet that die because or go blind because they don't
Right.
get enough vitamin A in their diet or something like that. Stuff like that that's happening all over the planet. Kids in this country
Yeah.
going without food. Why is that happening?
Right.
One of my favorite organizations that I tend to send money to is No Kid Hungry, and they help
Okay.
kids get school lunches in the US who don't,
Yes, I've heard of that
going
work.
to school. Yeah, kids going to school hungry. It's crazy. So greed, it's not good.
Yeah. And it's interesting because with I agree. Greed and money is the root of all evil. And as a spiritual person, I've had to reconcile the liberation of greed and the attachment to things.
Mhm.
But there's a pitfall there if you're too loosey goosey about your spirituality, is that you have to live in this society somehow, right? And this society is completely built on you got to pay your rent, you gotta pay for this bread. It might be expensive, but you got to pay for it. And I think that that's part of the reason why, for me, the election was so upsetting was because even though I thought higher values, things that unite us, things that create equality should be the consideration for a vote, it came down to safety and how much money is in people's pockets. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
it's one of those things where I just think we have to value things that aren't materialistic first, and then we can also still value the things that are materialistic. Like we should value our human connection and like your right to live and be free and have your own ideas, and somebody else's right to do that, and then talk about how much money like I should be getting to be able to live. So
Yeah.
I agree with you, Josh. And
Yeah. That made me think of this Buddhist prayer because
yeah,
this one hard for me to kind of wrap my head around. It was like, you gotta love everybody.
mm,
May all beings, like, may you be free from the root of suffering. May I be free from the root of suffering. May all beings be free from the root of suffering. That
yeah,
includes Donald Trump. That includes
that's right.
evil people on the other side of the world that are murdering other people. I mean, it's really hard to wrap my head around sometimes.
But isn't that the most humbling thing, right? Like when you get over that inclination to be like, nah, they don't deserve my love. You know what I mean? But as soon as
Right.
you get over it, yeah, this is, I might have given somebody something they don't deserve, but I feel like I did my part, even if it's just giving love. And was that loving kindness meditation? Is that what that is?
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few different there's another one that's may I enjoy loving kindness, may you enjoy loving kindness, may
That's
all
right.
be enjoy loving kindness.
That's right. Those are very powerful meditations, in my opinion.
That's why
I do
I get
feel that.
into them because it's really not a religion. It's more just a bunch of teachings of how to live
Say that.
cool, man, how to live chill and love everything and forget all this materialism, even though, like you said, we still got to pay the bills, still got to make that money. We
Bro.
still want to try to live a dream. Why are we here? All these questions. I think once you feel like you found your a purpose, doesn't have to be your purpose why you're here, but just something that drives you to keep going. And that's why I was stoked when I met you at your when you
Yeah.
were running council,
Yeah.
and that's how it's just so cool in community because now
Uh,
I'm been to like my community here in Everett with volunteering at the hospital, this music program, going to the spiritual center to just fulfill my soul, but also to volunteer there and give back to the community through that. And then just see people like you that are doing what you're doing. Like, hey, we can do something better than just sit around watching Netflix and then go to work and come home and watch Netflix.
I know, man. Yeah, and it's funny you say that because for the last couple of weeks, and yeah, again, the reason I created this podcast because I didn't feel like I did enough. I did something during the election, but I don't feel like I did enough. But there were times where over the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months, I would come home, watch Netflix, and rinse and repeat for a week on end, and I'm like, man, I could be doing something else. And mind you, I am working and I'm working on a book and stuff and doing other
Yeah.
things, but I hear what you're saying because a lot of us get into that rut. We miss out on the connections that we can make, which can lead to things that we don't even know are possible until we go ahead first and just show up. So that's good. That's good, Josh. Which I want you to, at the end of this, I want to know more about your music because all about, I'm all about the cross pollination and support and community. And yeah, this is a platform for you too. The next question is, what do you believe is one of the reasons that Trump and now largely Republic Congress won?
Well, there's no doubting that there is a big portion of the population that kind of leans a certain way with their beliefs and how they vote. And that, like I said, we got to love everybody, but I don't love that decision to the Roe v. Wade thing, the women's reproductive rights. I think that's a big deal, which is interesting though, because I think it was Illinois. They overturned theirs, the abortion ban, but they voted largely Republican. It does show that even though people were voting, say Republican, there's still certain values that like women or whatever are saying no. No, we don't go with all that you're saying. So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to say. What I initially wrote down was like people getting duped, but I think that's only a percentage, right? That's not everybody who voted Republican got duped. So again, it's a lot of us. It's funny. I have friends that I don't know how they vote and almost don't want to know, but it's crazy just because I think, yeah, I think some people voted that way because they side with that because maybe their religion, or maybe they vote that way just because they were raised that way. And like when I first started voting as a voter, I didn't really understand much. So I just talked to my parents, like, what does our family vote? And, how do you guys vote? And they're like, well,
Right.
the Democrats tend to vote for policies that support the working person. That's the way we tend to vote. And so that's kind of, and then, as I grew, I started going, yeah, I definitely don't lean right. Yeah, I don't think all guns should be outlawed. However, there's an issue with guns.
Sure.
So I'm kind of like that with the guns. Like, I'm not going to be like, don't take away my right. But I'm going to say, yeah, there's an issue with the guns. It's kind of like so I don't know. It's a hard question. I don't really understand why people morally can vote for some of these senators and congressmen who are just appalling people.
Yeah.
That just shows you how diverse we are.
Yeah, and but it's you might appreciate this and I've known this as a spiritual practicing person. I alluded to the perspective earlier where it's like you have to have a comprehensive perspective to really understand a thing. And I look at humanity as a species and think from the perspective of like how are we moving as a species, right? If we're all connected some way, somehow, then we're all moving relatively in a similar direction, some way, somehow. It's just how far up do you have to go to really see where that pattern is, right? And see where we're moving. And so as a country, I'm like, man, we are vastly divided, but we're also emerging from almost centuries of beliefs that this person is less than or should be counted as less than, or I'm entitled to this, or this is the only way to look at what salvation is. We're emerging from that in this digital world where we have so many choices of information. People of my age 70 years ago wouldn't know what Buddhism is or really even Buddhist teachings because unless they're actually at the library and the library carries that type of information, like that's not in their sphere. And people back then might not have as diverse of views as folks like us today, just because we have more information. And that's a huge part in why things feel so drastic these days. Yes, because
Yeah.
we're almost making decisions real time about the way society should go. But I think that there's been some splintered kind of manifestations of that over the last 10 years. So that's a whole topic that maybe we'll have you back to talk about. But it's just one of those things where, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack. But so the next question is, do you feel like you did enough to affect the election in the way you wanted to see it go?
Honestly, no. However, I don't I don't tend to like to get too involved in politics, even though I'm starting to care more about it now as I'm aging. I obviously could have gotten involved, but I didn't really want to. I was actually getting like irritated with all those ads about them wanting more money, more money, more money. And I was kind of like, hey guys, how'd you ask all your millionaire buddies up there and billionaire friends for more money for your campaigns? Because I'm going to donate my money to nokidhungry.org.
Sure.
If my vote isn't enough, do you know, I heard one statistic from Trump's campaign that they spent over $200 million on anti-trans advertising. That's
Right.
insane. Do you know how much good you could have done with that $200 million? You know, if you gave that $200 million to No Kid Hungry, maybe there'd be no more children in the US that go without a school lunch. Then you're going to try to take away one of your countrymen's rights.
Right.
That's my biggest thing. I came away with this was when I was seeing all the division in my friends, Facebook friends. Just for one side, super sad, the other side, super like stoked. You say this, then the attack. It's just like, are we countrymen? Because we're supposed to be countrymen, and it doesn't really feel like it because we don't agree. So you're like less than me.
And you're like hateful, right? I think it's the hate, right?
Oh, all the tempers running wild, man.
Yeah.
Both sides, crazy.
I know it is both sides, and it's when I believe that the Democratic side was moral, just, and we're the side of light and goodness, and then I hear some of the reactions of folks and just some of the things they say, whether it's sarcastic or not. I don't know. It just feels, oh, this whole time you were on the light side, but you still had the capacity for this, like, and you chose to delve into that capacity. So I don't want to make a judgment on that person, but I also question, like, how different are we from them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they think the exact same thing. It's, oh, you guys, we were the ones who were heartbroken that our candidate didn't win and it pissed us off, and you guys made fun of us, and now it's the other way around. It just feels like we always have this spinning coin, not realizing that we're on both sides of them, but also the coin, right? And
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's just crazy how we fall into those ways of thinking, if you will.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay, so the next question is so what do you want to say to yourself 4 years down the road right now?
Keep going, buddy.
Yeah.
Keep doing the thing. Like I wonder that sometimes like just there's certain it's getting better as life's going on. I'm being more positive and I'm growing. But there's
Yeah.
times where I'm like, why am I here, man? Like, God, seriously. Especially when you watch the news. Like I go to that like the light side and we're all light and like peace and just but then I start to feel like I'm just got blinders on, right? I'm only gonna look at the beautiful things that I like in the world and I'm gonna ignore all the rest. It, it's hard to stay positive. If I could just say to myself, I just keep going, man, keep doing the thing, keep taking care of yourself, keep trying to take care of your family, do good in your community. You're doing great.
Yeah. Keep it up, bud.
You know, 4 or 5 years ago from where I am now was a lot different.
Sure.
I was renting a room in a house because I was drinking a lot. I was depressed. I didn't have tools to deal with problems healthy ways. Ended up getting a DUI, spent the night in jail, had to crawl myself out of that hole. And again, the spirituality, the positivity, the humility brought me to where I am now. I think we could take a little bit more of that into like our politics and leaders, have a little more compassion and a little more humility and a little more like understanding that we're all countrymen. That could be good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I like that. I like that sentiment. The we're countrymen, or the country should be a uniting factor always.
Yeah.
You know, and that's I got to tell you, one of the things that, because because I'm a spiritual person, I believe in the butterfly effect, or I believe that small actions have larger repercussions, right? And being secure in that belief and that mechanism in life, I thought that the thing that I was doing at home was enough, right? Okay. But I realized that even though that mechanism exists in the world, you still have to you have to direct that flow, and that's how you manifest things that you want. And I was directing people energetically towards Kamala Harris, but I also realized that towards the end of the election, I would just wanted people to vote. And I'm just like, just vote. Like, as countrymen, like, that is your primary responsibility, is to vote. So just vote. And people, not overwhelmingly, because again, the margins weren't like 80-20 type stuff, but it was still within the 40-60 margins. They voted for what they thought was right. And so there's a shred of me spiritually where I have to say, okay, this is happening for a reason. And it went this way for a reason. And
Right.
that's because I can't see that reason right now. And I'm in this like space of the world's closing around me and stuff. I have to take a step back and be like, this is going to work out in the divine way it's supposed to. You know what I mean? Because everything,
Yeah, it does.
yeah,
And it's not always the way we want it to, but
that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So we always have to make sure we have our home base taken care of, kind of like you were saying, right?
yeah, I mean, staying grounded, work from this out.
That's
So
right.
work on this and then go out and I don't know, man. It doesn't work for everybody, but it works for me
Yeah.
and I'm thriving.
And thank you for sharing with us kind of your past. I'm curious, your music. Tell us a little bit about your music.
It's a lot of it's acoustic rock, folk, kind of blues, a little country. It's all mostly very personal stuff. So stuff I've gone through, breakups or being in love. There's a few songs I have that are like about kind of being mindful of. I have one called "We Are All Human," which I think be a great one for right now. It's
Sure.
very, it doesn't sound like it, but it's a similar kind of vibe as far as like, Imagine. So I love playing that song by John Lennon.
Yeah.
I played it like the day after the election. I was playing a show and I was like, hey, let's listen to this song because this is, pertinent now just as much
Yeah.
as back then. So, which says a lot about humanity, you know? So yeah, my songs are just a lot of the human experience, being in love, breaking up, healing, going on, and it's
You're good.
going well. I'm recording my first full length at the moment for hopefully release next summer. I have 2 EPs out. I'm all over Spotify, Pandora, wherever you listen to music,
Okay.
and Instagram, and I perform all over the Pacific Northwest. Tonight, I'm in Redmond
Okay.
at Northwest Brewing.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I'm at SeaTac Airport. I work regularly at SeaTac Airport. They do live music at the airport,
Oh wow.
2 to 3 different locations. The North Terminal, the main terminal, and also by the Sub Pop Records in the main terminal. They do
Okay.
that 7 days a week. There's 3 performances a day. So if you're ever flying out of SeaTac, try to go pick up a artist show, maybe even buy one of their CDs. That's a great way to support them. Yeah. And
Okay.
yeah,
It's at Josh is it Utech?
UTech.
Utech. Okay. At Josh
Facebook,
Utech.
I'm facebook.com/Joshua Red UTech. Instagram, I'm at Joshua_Red_UTech_music
Okay.
and utechmusic.com.
Okay. And Utech is Uttech for those who can't
Cool.
read.
You can put in Joshua Red U on anywhere you're streaming music and you'll just look for the bald guy.
Yeah. Bald guy with the red beard.
Yep. That's
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Excuse me. Well, awesome, Josh. We did get through all of the questions, and I do want to. We conclude by saying we are all different, but we are all also the same. What matters is we recognize that and move forward to make a better world for all of us. So I thank you for one blessing people with your music. I always have thought music is like the best praise, or God's favorite type of praise is song, and people singing from the heart. So I always connect with musicians and get overly emotional when I probably shouldn't. Let's be honest. But I'm kidding, but But thank you for your light in the world. And yeah, hopefully I'll come see one of your shows here pretty soon.
Thanks for yours as well.
So, all right. Well, you have a good one. And
You too, brother.
yeah.
Take care.